Every Friday on our show, we dust off Judd's keys to a Vikings victory. So far, the Vikings have not been following enough of these keys. They are 0-3 so far this season. All right, so Judd's keys to a Vikings victory. Declan, if you could fire up some appropriate music here. How many keys did Keys bring today?
Hold on, I got to get them. Got them? Jeez. That's it? All right. He brought 4.
Okay.
Which he's done before. I think he did. He's done 5.
Last night.
He's done 5. Yeah, I know.
I might recommend more like 9 or 10 keys based on the way the Vikings have started this season, but that's just you.
You think he has the ability to do 9 or 10 keys? I can barely get 4 now, and I'm paying him full salary. Key number 4. We'll start from the bottom, as we always do. Did you do this one last week? Key number 4. Cook 'em. That's right. Cook 'em.
I get it. So hook 'em is the Texas thing. Cook 'em.
And last week we had get Dalvin cooking. Right. This week he got cooking last week with the career high 181 yards and a touchdown against the Titans. So now you just continue to cook them. That's because of this. So in his first 2 games, Dalvin Cook 113 yards on the ground. As I just said last week, 181 career high. Okay. Now, this dovetails nicely for a Vikings victory, and this is how. The Houston Texans are last in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. They are giving up 188.3 yards per game. They are giving up, I repeat, 188.3 yards per game. In essence, 7 more yards than Dalvin Cook got in a career high game last week. The Vikings offensive line can struggle, and I get that. And pass protection, they definitely can. They also can run block somewhat. And the Texans are got gouged by their first 3 opponents. No reason to believe, gentlemen, that they won't again. So this time, like you just said, hook them, cook them.
I like it. I just think at this point, you should let Dalvin Cook do as much as he physically can. Like, hand the ball off 20 plus times, find him 5, 6, 7 times in the passing game, and just ride Dalvin Cook. And also don't forget about Justin Jefferson in the second half like they did last week. I don't want to step on Keys, but continue. Key number 3.
Key number 3 from Keys. A secondary concern.
All right.
You can't use that one again. A secondary concern. So statistically, Deshaun Watson, the Texans quarterback, is 13th in the league in passing yards through 3 games, 792. He's tied for 20th with 4 touchdowns, and he's thrown 3 picks, okay? So it looks like from the way the injury report is playing out, Mike Hughes has not practiced yet or wouldn't have on Wednesday if they had practiced because of the neck problem. But Cameron Dantzler, coming back from the ribs, has been taking part, not full, but limited in practice, all right? So Cameron Dantzler could be back. Jeff Gladney, who I think is going to be just fine. I think it's going to take some time, but I think he's going to be fine. Holton Hill's a big question mark. To me, he's still going to play. So there are concerns there. But Deshaun Watson is not necessarily, in large part, probably because DeAndre Hopkins is gone to the Arizona Cardinals. Deshaun Watson's not the quarterback that he necessarily has been in the past, who I think is a pretty damn good, talented QB. So the secondary remains a concern, but I am interested to see what the dynamic is going to be this time around between what really amounts to, through 3 games, a quarterback who has not been great and a secondary that, at least in some places personnel-wise, should be gradually taking some steps.
Yeah, the one thing I would worry about here is that Deshaun Watson is due to have a Deshaun Watson game, and the Vikings defense on paper looks like the defense to do it against. So this has me just flashing back to the mid 2000s with Mike Tice and remember all the games between like 2003 and 2005 that the Vikings, it was like 31-28 every single week, 34-31. I feel like that's how they have to win games. It's crazy that this is the formula for a Mike Zimmer coach team, but they probably have to score 30 or 34 points for you to feel good about their chances to win any game going forward.
I agree completely. So that is the secondary concern.
Key number 2.
I see what you did here. I sort of like it. Key number 2. What's that?
Wow.
Oh, no.
Come on, Keys.
No. Keys,
bro.
Key number 2. Let me repeat. What's that?
No. I don't know about that one, Keys.
Keys been hanging out.
J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt in 3 games.
Watts up could have worked here too, I guess.
Yeah, it could have worked. See, you're buying into what Keys is selling now.
What's going on?
Thanks, Marvin. J.J. Watt in 3 games has only 2 sacks.
Tell me what's the word. What's the word?
See,
word up.
You criticized what Keys did there, and now you're jumping on the bandwagon for what's up or what's going on. So he has 2 sacks in 3 games, but he is the left end in a 3-4 scheme for the Texans. Follow along here. That means he is on the left side of his line and the right side of the Vikings offensive line. Let's review not so much who's at right tackle, because Brian O'Neill's not coming off a great game on Sunday, but I think he's a solid player. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. PFF, I know after the first couple games had him 15th out of like 70 tackles or something.
So solid, very solid.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in a 3-4, we don't know exactly where J.J. Watt's going to line up consistently or how he's going to be deployed. Let's review who the right guard is for the Vikings. Drew Samia. All right, put all this together in a stew, and I am very curious to see what the plan is and what the approach is going to be with a 3-4 defense going against the Vikings offensive line to contain the Texans as far as their pass rush goes, and in particular, what they're going to do against J.J. Watt.
Yeah, this is going to be a theme all season, I would think here. And by the way, Brian O'Neill is currently 16th. He's rated 16th out of offensive tackles. He's actually been one of the, the Vikings probably have like 5 bright spots so far this year, and I would say Brian O'Neill has been one of them. He's been better in run blocking than pass blocking, which is also the story of this Vikings offensive line for the last couple of years. So they have a couple guys on the interior right now that are just absolute. You might as well just have like a plastic trash can set up. That might be a better barrier to maintain
7-on-7
against
You want the
JJ
7-on-7 drill?
Yeah, it's really, really bad. All right, and key number 1 to a Vikings victory.
Key number 1, you broached this briefly, Phil Mackey. Just in time. Key number 1, just in time. So if Dalvin Cook's going to potentially have as good a game as I think he can have against a very, very weak rushing defense for the Texans, it's going to help that if the passing game at least serves as a threat. Now, if the quarterback, Kirk Cousins in this case, drop back and look to, let's say, his best friend in the world, Adam Thielen, every single time, that's going to make the Texans' life as far as pass defense be much easier. But if he has Justin Jefferson as a threat, and let's go through the stats from last week. Let's see, is Justin Jefferson a threat? 9 receptions, 175 yards, a touchdown. Now let's look at the second half stats, because he must have really taken off in the set. Oh, wait, 1 catch for 1 touchdown and 1 more target that was picked off. All right, so the just-in-time thing is Jefferson coming off a big game. That's fantastic, a definite threat. But you also need to take that threat and extrapolate it instead of for basically 2.5 quarters most, right? All 4 quarters.
Here are your targets so far this season. Adam Thielen, 21 targets, 12 catches. Justin Jefferson, 15 targets, 12 catches. Jefferson has gone for, let's see here, 245 yards to Adam Thielen's 170 yards. So Thielen's having a decent start to the season, but that game by Justin Jefferson, I think that vaulted him into the you have to target him 8 to 10 times category and just see what happens in this game, right?
Amen.
And I think you should be targeting Adam Thielen too, but going into week 2, into week 3, it was kind of the Vikings have Adam Thielen and then just a bunch of guys that are either trying to prove themselves or are just sort of filling a roster spot like BC Johnson. He's fine, but he's not a number 2 wide receiver. And now I go into week 4 thinking you have 2 stud wide receivers and you should do as many things as you can to target them and get them the ball. So offensively, this team has weapons like Thielen, Jefferson, Cook. How many teams in the NFL would trade their top 3 offensive weapons for the Vikings' top 3 offensive weapons?
Tight ends
right
too.
Quite a few.
If you incorporate the tight ends into the passing game, which they sort of weirdly aren't doing consistently at all, or Declan's right.
Irv Smith was not targeted at all last week. He's been targeted 5 times in 3 games so far this season. Quick question off Irv Smith.
Yeah.
We look at him, and when he catches a pass and when he's out in open space, he just looks like a potential star. Is there a reason here? Or are there things that we clearly aren't accounting for? And maybe he's just more of a bust or more of a backup caliber player than we think? What's the other explanation?
Well, he took what? He took one or two. I think it was one penalty last week, which I'm sure frustrated them, but that's not an explanation to like ice him out of your offense. I don't think right now, and I don't know why, I don't think they're doing a good job, just period, of incorporating that position into their passing game, which is really weird because Kubiak's pass says that they do that. I'll say this. I don't necessarily understand what the issue is and what is prohibiting them a little bit more from utilizing the short passing game, which I thought would be key to their success. And they really have not used consistently, unless I'm wrong about one game. I don't recall one particular game, though, where I've said, okay, short passing game-wise, this looks exactly like what we expected.
Mm-hmm. Let me real quick. I think I can find average air yards for you here. I need like just a second to comb through the Pro Football Focus database. But
you got anything else, Keys? All right. No, he doesn't. He just left.
Classic Keys.
Yeah, you mailed it in as far as I'm
what's
concerned.
Keys' contract situation? Did he sign a long-term contract at least through the rest of the season, or could he
He's
still jump
year.
ship to the Bears?
He's year to year. He's got a friend that has threatened if he signs a multi-year contract to shoot him in the groin with a paintball gun, which I guess is something new now.
That's interesting.
That's just like Trevor Bauer.
Oh, is that like. Okay? Yeah, it's some weird thing. Keys is a big Bauer fan, I guess.
It's really interesting.
They're both very, very don't like authority.
All right. Well, those are Judd's 4 keys to a Vikings victory. I'll find this at some point here. I don't know if I'll find it for this show or not. There's a million things to comb through, but
aren't you surprised by the lack of the short passing game consistently so far?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's whether it's screens or Dalvin Cook, even Dalvin Cook just sort of like, just sneaking out in front of the offensive line and catching a pass. Now, I will say on the final drive that went completely awry,
chaos.
There was pressure on all of the plays, but on one of the plays there, pressure in Kirk's face, and he did try to hit Dalvin Cook on like a wheel route.
Yes,
but the timing was off.
Yes,
and it was just an incomplete pass. So there's been a couple of those,
and that might be it too.
Yeah,
protection might play a role there. I thought that was going to be a big part of their offense from day one, and it just has not materialized yet.
Quick shout out, if you aren't already subscribed to Purple Daily, either in podcast form on Apple, Spotify, and scorenorth.com or youtube.com/Purple Daily Podcast. That's where we're pumping out 7 days a week Vikings content and shows. And that's also where Vikings Vent Line lives. Right after the game is over, you can watch Vikings Vent Line live on youtube.com/Purple Daily Podcast. And we welcome people into the video with us. We've welcomed a few dozen fans already into the video with us the first 3 weeks of the season. You can get in the action by emailing Declan at vikingsventline@gmail.com. vikingsventline@gmail.com.